Some interesting things have been taking place over the past 6 months because of the Hormuz Strait. Everybody is aware of it. Everybody is screaming their head off that we don't have enough petrol, our petrol prices are rising. And this government, which has administered the revenues and the accounts of this nation for so many years, does not know anything about finance and economics. And nobody has reminded themselves that once 15 years ago, India was on the brink of a collapse, and we were on the edge of becoming not a third world country, but a non-existent country, and we were to be living out of the doles of the Western nations. Today, we are able to stand up to the Western nations, and the Western nations are willing to extend their hand of cooperation to this country. In spite of all these developments, it is pathetic, it is sad, because our people of this nation are not able to perceive of how things are moving along in the other parts of the world. They are living in their own small enclave, like the villages of the ancient India, not knowing what is happening in the other parts of India. They did not know what is happening in the next village. So they had to travel 10 kilometers, 20 kilometers which takes about 3 to 4 days in those days. That is a kind of life Indians are still living in their minds, not physically, but in their minds. It is so sad. See, we are importing nearly 90% of our oil. And in spite of this, we have been able to manage for so many years. We are able to contain inflation. We are able to grow at the rate of at least 6 to 7% every year. And not only that, we were expecting to grow at the rate of 8 to 9%, 8.6, 9% in this year, if not for these crisis of this Iranian war. But why are we so pathetically always looking at the negative side? Is it because of the reason that we are mentally still enslaved in the thinking that we are not sufficiently strong to stand up for ourselves, and not sufficiently developed in our mindset that we will be able to challenge the world? We have sent in the best minds out of India. Well, I'm not blaming anybody that they are not going out of. Yes, they will go out of India if there are no opportunities in India. But today, there is a lot of opportunities in India. The only problem is the execution part of it. That was what I was coming to after giving my preamble. Today, if you look at it, the government is taking effective steps, I would say, to reduce the cost of fuel, reduce the cost of import of crude oil, reduce the strain on our economy, so that because the dollar, the crude oil is still valued in dollars, priced in dollars. And in view of the pricing in dollars, India is paying a huge price. And with the fall in the price of the rupee vis-a-vis the dollar, we are experiencing a greater stress on our economy and on our rupee. In spite of the difficulties in shoring up the rupee, we are not able to do it because it is under free fall today. Well, we'll discuss that topic later. But currently, what is the situation? The government is trying to mitigate, to reduced the consumption of fuel, but the problem is we are growing in leaps and bounds with regard to the purchase of cars, scooters, and everything. Now, we are still not happy, or I would say an average Indian is still not happy, even myself, I would say, in the category, whether the EV solution is there. Because we are not aware. Now, there are so many cars in India that if everybody was to stop buying fuel cars and they go in for EV cars, will India be able to support them? For example, if you have to travel from, I talk from Chennai. So if we have to travel from Chennai to, say, Madurai, approximately there will be about 4 to 5, charging stations on the way. Now, each charging station is packed with vehicles waiting to get charged. That is going to be a problem. Because we may be thinking, oh, we have charged it overnight. But in view of the traveling conditions, in view of so many other factors, our difficulties is that the fuel or the electrical fuel may have, consumption may be higher in certain cars, the power of the cars, so many things that matter. So we are still not happy, or uh, I would say sufficiently capable of accepting 100% EV solution for India currently. But that is going to be the situation in the future for India, especially because we don't have oil, and we keep talking about we are discovering oil here, we're discovering oil there. All this would be, pouring water, a cup of water in a desert. I don't think so. India will be able to have self-sufficient in oil like the US and uh, I would say other countries. So we are looking at using alternative fuels to blend with our current fuel like ethanol and give it an opportunity to increase the use of this ethanol and reduce the purchase of crude oil in the future so that the consumption of regular fuel comes down. As usual, we have the naysayers. Oh, the cost of production of 1 liter of ethanol consumes so much of water, so much of this, so much of that, and hence we should not go in for ethanol. Then there's another group which says that this ethanol will not, our cars, carburetors or other, whatever you may call it, will not be able to handle this ethanol because it is not, capable of blending in the way we expect in the regular fuel cars. Well, we should find out alternatives. See, we are not looking at one car, two cars, or for one person, two persons. It's India, it's Bharat. And how do we service Bharat? We should try to find out alternative methods of how we can develop cars with capabilities of absorbing even 100% ethanol like Brazil has. So that, we must understand as a nation that we should reduce the import of crude oil. By reducing the purchase of crude oil, we will be able to shore up our reserves. And as and when we shore up our reserves, our currency, the value of our currency will slowly improve, and we will be able to look at eye to eye with nations whose currencies are accepted throughout the world as exchange. So we should, as Bharat, look at as a wholesome picture rather than view it in a very, very narrow scope of activity. That narrowness should be spread like, Bharat. That is the most important thing that we should look at. Because the government is now looking at now introducing 20% ethanol, then they're looking at 40% ethanol, and they're looking at coal gasification. They're looking at so many alternatives so that as we increase the number of cars in India, As we increase the number of motorcycles in India, the scooters and trucks and other mobile mobility agents in India, there is going to be an increase in the requirement of crude if we are going to continue in the same manner. So we should assist the government, and the manufacturers of trucks and cars and scooters should look at the pace by which they will be able to create an engine which will be able to meet with even 100% ethanol in a particular day. So they should look at the future and state, yes, we are looking at, say, 100% ethanol consumption possibility for a particular car. Now, will that help India? We do not know how far we will be able to get so much of ethanol, but it is a requirement which we should meet with if we were to reduce our liability with regard to the cost of consumption of fuel in view of the cost price of the crude oil. And crude oil is not going to be there for the future for next 1,000 years or 100 years. I would expect that there are estimates that even Saudi Arabia will run out of fuel next 100 years. So what are we going to do after 100 years? We'll be tapping at every resource and even destroying our environment in the way to discover new sources of oil and of other materials for the purpose of our cars. So let us start today. Let us start moving today. Yes, we will help the government. Yes, let the manufacturers. We have knowledge, we have technical expertise. When we are able to create a thorium, reactor, I think will be a very, very minor thing for our intelligentsia to get into a manufacturing of a particular engine which can even consume 100% ethanol. They should be looking at the next stage of using coal gas because we have enough reserves of 400 billion, reserves of coal in India. And suppose we, use the technology for the purpose of use of coal to convert into gasification and use that gas also for the purpose of our, in the future, if possible, for our vehicles, all type of vehicles. I think there is a possibility that India will be able to sustain its run. And I don't think so 8% is not going to be a difficulty in the next couple of years if we are able to adapt to the circumstances. I think it is time that we focus as Indians, as Bharatvasis, on these areas so that we will be able to improve the shape and I would say, the strength of our economy. And we will not be challenged continuously as we have been being challenged over the years with regard to the rupee vis-a-vis the dollar or the euro or the yen or the pound, anything you may so. We are now 70, we are reached 75, and we are going to be in a bigger position shortly. We are looking at 1947, 2000 for 100 years. And within 100 years, I think we should be able to challenge the world rather than sit back in our, Anglophile life, drinking beer and talking whether we will be able to meet the requirements and the challenges of this world. India has got enough talent, enough capabilities, enough scientists, enough opportunities to put back India on the world map. And we should all join together. This is one area. Crude is one area which we have the capabilities, we have the technology, we have the scientists who will be able to deliver. When we are able to deliver E20, ethanol 20, we will be able to deliver ethanol 40. And I'm sure if we are able to apply our mind, even within, say, 6 months, we will be able to do ethanol 100. So I think we should start looking and focusing on these areas which will give India a platform from which it will be able to stand up and look the world in its eye, rather than always looking down, and putting the fingers together or rubbing its palms, or moving its legs to meet the world. As Indians, we should rise up to the occasion, and I hope that we will do it. Thank you.